Fiona Reynolds, it's really good to have you join us. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Matthew. It's great to see you again. And it was terrific to meet you when we were both in Tokyo.
Absolutely. So to get started, I'm always interested in maybe career path is maybe too strong of a word, but what inspires folks like yourself to get into this work? Do you have any stories that maybe you can share with us that would help illuminate how Fiona Reynolds was, maybe even from childhood, but what motivated you, or maybe it's who motivated you to pursue this path of being in responsible investment, doing good in finance?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. So if I think back, I mean, I was very much a working class kid. I went to Catholic school all of my life. And while I was at school, I think we were instilled a very strong sense of social justice and that it was part of our role to make sure that we did things that promoted social justice as well and to be part of solutions. Now, often you don't think about finance when you think about social justice, but in the early 90s, which is when I started work, in Australia, where I currently live and where I lived back then, we didn't really have a pensions system, a private pension system. So in 1992, the government started a private pension system called superannuation. So, and it was the very beginning. Before this, most working class people really just retired with a fairly meagre age pension that was provided by the government, and superannuation was designed to be the top up. So I started working in superannuation in 1994 at the very beginning of this, and new funds were set up. So they were set up so that they were run like a mutual, in that the boards had an equal number of employee and employer representatives. And it was really about how did we democratise capital and create some alternate financial system that wasn't just run by big fund managers. And during that, I began to learn, well, in actual fact, if you do want to make change in the world, the best way to do it is to follow the money, really, because it's money that has influence. And as the funds grew and the money in the pension funds grew, which in Australia is now more than Australia's GDP, then I got interested in responsible investment. So how do you incorporate the environmental, social and governance factors into your investment thinking? Because again, I think those who invest money have a responsibility to do it in a way where you balance the profit that you need with not exploiting people and not exploiting the planet. And to a lot of people's surprise, I think, a lot of the way that money has been invested does exploit the planet and it does exploit people.
Is there anyone either early on or even today that you would look at as someone who inspires you in this work?
Those that inspire me are really everyday activists. So just quickly, one of the things that I was fortunate to do a few years ago through the UN was a commission into modern slavery, but looking at it through the finance sector lens and what was the role of the finance sector. And on the commission, we had the great and the good from the finance sector, banking, etc. Really great people. But we also had two survivors of modern slavery. One in Africa, James, who was sold as a 5-year-old onto the fishing boats. He was one of 13 children by his parents because they felt they had no other options. When in this situation, the only thing that you've got to give people is your work. And if you can't work, you're thrown overboard. That's the end of you. He eventually escaped when he was 15. He got back home. He got a chance to go to university, started working in the banking sector at Barclays Bank, and realised that the finance sector could make a difference. And now he works to help other people who have been in some form of modern slavery. There was then a woman on the commission as well, and she was a victim of sexual slavery. typical sort of issue. She was in Eastern Europe. She saw an ad, come to Canada, be a nanny. You can make money. You can send it back home. When she gets to Canada, her passport's taken off her and she's put in sexual slavery. She then escaped eventually, and she now helps other people escape from sexual slavery and helps them get back on their feet. So it's those kind of people who have been through things but still get up every day and try to help other people that really, really inspire me. And they're two of the most inspiring people I've ever met.